years ago, former Husky quarterback Damon Heward was throwing touchdown passes on this field. Now he has another passion. It's making wine. He recently teamed up with his former NFL Dolphin teammate Dan Marino. I had the opportunity to talk to Damon at his brand new winery, which is just a few miles east of the stadium. All right, we're over here in Woodinville. Talk about a great place to try some wine. Damon Heward.
Guard, how you doing?
Everybody knows you, the former Husky. You played 12 years in the NFL, and now you're making wine.
I'm making wine,
Tell me about that.
This is so much fun. This is my labor of love. What I get to do on the side when I'm not around football and my family is I'm a part of the Washington wine industry, and it's a super budding industry and so many awesome people. And you know, I got to go way back, kind of 15, 20 years ago, when my passion for wine started with my business partner, Dan Marino.
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
Well, literally, we're at his house for Thanksgiving one year, and he's pouring some Washington wines at dinner. He's like, Damon, they're making some great wine where you're from, buddy. This Andrew Will, this Leonetti, this Quilceda Creek, you gotta try this stuff. And of course, I had never really had fine Washington wine. I was a 22-year-old fresh out of college kid, but the bug bit me. And Danny and I had always talked about when I was done playing football and back home here full time, like, let's dive into this thing. Let's make a Washington wine together. So fast forward all these years, I've gotten some great fruit from some older established vineyards in Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
I've got an awesome, hip young winemaker. And here we are in Woodinville making passing time. Our 2012 Cabernet, we released it last April. And we're super excited about being a part of the Washington wine industry.
So Damon, is it more difficult to learn about wine or an NFL playbook?
Good question, Guard. They both certainly have their challenges. No doubt about it, learning that playbook, you know, takes years and repetition and practice. The wine thing too, let me tell you, I mean, there are so many moving parts to this industry. You know, whether it's your relationships with the growers and the folks in the vineyard and the farmers, to over here in the cellar, to the barrel reps and your winemaker and all the decisions you make along the way. But it's also super competitive, which is what I love. It's one of the single most competitive consumer products in the world. And yet here in Washington State, with it being in its infancy and only 30 years old, I feel like everybody in this industry is working together. I've had so many awesome people help me along the way here. You know, that old saying, a high tide rises all ships. Yeah. Whether it's Chris Camarda at Andrew Will, Charlie Hoppus, the Galitzins at Quilceda Creek. You know, so many great legendary people in the Washington wine industry have helped passing time, you know, launch this project.
And what about just this complex? You said there are 19 wineries here?
Yeah, right here in Woodinville alone, right here in the warehouse district, there's 19 wineries right here. I mean, people are flocking up here on the weekends to drink these Colt wines in a cold garage. But it's awesome, right? I mean, we are, at price to score ratio, making some of the best wines in the world right here in Washington State. And the industry is only 30 years old. So we are super excited with this Passing Time project to be a part of a budding industry here in Washington State.
All right, well, I'm an idiot. Tell me, we're drinking a cab here.
Yeah.
So what should I do?
Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to swirl around. You want to stick your nose in there and smell that. The beautiful aromas right there. A lot of cherry. Some violets. You know, this is 86% Cabernet, 9% Merlot, and 5% Cab Franc. If you have 75% or more of one varietal, you can call it that. So we call it a Cabernet. The Cabernet comes from the Discovery Vineyard in the Horseheaven Hills. The 9% Merlot comes from Clipson Vineyard on Red Mountain, which is a separate appellation. And then the 5% Cab Franc comes from arguably the most famous vineyard in the state, Shampoo, spelled C-H-A-M-P-O-U-X. And so we've taken this fruit all in. Our winemaker, Chris Peterson, is kind of the artist here. You bring in all this fruit and you kind of do all these blending trials to come up with that blend. And we thought for the 2012 vintage that made our best wine here in-house. And we're super stoked about it. We got 94 points in the Wine Advocate, 93 in the Wine Spectator, and 93 in the Wine Enthusiast. So for our first vintage, we're pretty fired up.
I get the feeling you know a lot about wine now.
You know, I do. I swear, I have like this whole new list of friends and contacts and people that I've made over the last 3 or 4 years. Literally, whether it's the barrel reps or the guys who sold me the corks, the glass, the label, you know, sourcing fruit from 7 different vineyards because we are growing. We're going to grow from 500 cases to 1,500 cases with the 14 vintage. But friends with all these farmers. Some of these guys my dad played high school basketball against back in Prosser, where my dad grew up in Eastern Washington. So it's been fun. And the other great part of the story, Guard, is You know, my great-grandparents were some of the first Concord grape growers in the state of Washington in the early 1900s.
You've come full circle.
I've come full circle, back to my family's agricultural roots. There's actually a Heward Road in Grandview, Washington, where my great-grandfather Nelson Heward farmed into his late 80s. And it's right down the street from the Boucher Vineyard, which is another famous Washington vineyard. So this whole, this story, this passion, this wine project has really brought me back full circle to my family's roots.
All right, can I try this?
Yeah, get in there.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is.
I need a big fat steak.
You do. I mean, it's young, but certainly it coats your palate, right? It's full-bodied. You know, the thing about the Horse Heaven Hills appellations, I think you still get that big full-body flavor that you want from a cab, but there's also, especially on the nose, this floral essence that just rounds it out and makes it really pretty. And yeah, we're super excited. Obviously, the critics love it, and our customers too. We're off to a great start.